Welcome to the treatment portion of the neck pain cure system. In this section, we're going to go over the corrective stretches and exercises that make up our body balance training. The point of this section is to show you exactly how to do each individual stretch and exercise. Which ones you do is actually going to be determined based on the imbalances that you discovered during your own self-assessment. Now, if for some reason you were tempted to skip ahead, it's very important that you go back and go through the information and the evaluation portion of the neck pain cure system before you attempt to do any of the body balance training. So before we go any further, let's go over a few general rules. Number one, you're going to want to listen to your body. Soreness is fine, but pain is not something that we want to increase. And so if you need to push through some soreness, that's fine. But if you start feeling that your pain is increasing, you're going to want to back down off of what you're doing until that pain subsides. Number two, you're going to want to start slow. This isn't a race. This is something that's going to take a little while to correct because it's been there for a long time. And so if you start off slow and start off on the lower end of things, then you can wait at least until the next day before you determine how you feel before you go adding more. If you feel fine, then you can go ahead and add more. Number three, don't stretch too long. We're going to set a rule here. Most of our stretches are only going to be anywhere from 3 to 10 seconds. 15 seconds, absolute maximum. I don't want you trying to hold a stretch for 30 seconds or a minute. The likelihood of you hurting yourself goes way up. Number four, frequency is better than intensity. Don't try to take 20 and 30 minutes out of your day to stretch. Take a few minutes throughout your day, multiple times throughout your day, and do your stretching. Think about a cat. Cat stays flexible because periodically through the day it gets up, does a stretch, and goes on. If you take these stretches and implement them throughout your day and do them frequently, you're going to win the race instead of trying to take 20 or 30 minutes to stretch because you're more likely to get sore and hurt yourself, and you're probably just not going to do it. Number five, make sure you drink plenty of water. Now I know we've talked about this before, but the water is going to help keep you hydrated, it's going to decrease your risk of injury, and it's also going to diminish and lower your possibility of getting sore and help you keep from getting sore. So it's really important that you do that. And number seven, make sure that you loosen up before you stretch. That could mean that you take a nice warm shower and loosen up. It's not a good idea to roll out of bed the first thing in the morning and just start stretching like crazy. So taking a nice warm shower is a great way to loosen up before you start stretching, and that way you're not less likely to hurt yourself. What we're going to go over now is a few of our starter stretches. These are 3 different stretches. 2 of them I want everybody to do. The third one is a little more advanced, so you may or may not be able to do it to start, but you're going to want to work your way up to that. The first thing we're going to do, and Kit's going to help us demonstrate our stretches and exercises, and the first thing that we're going to do is mountain pose. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your feet spread apart. You're going to put your hands down to your side, palms opened up. You're going to stand nice and tall through your chest. Squeeze the shoulders back, and you're going to stand really, really tall through your spine. Now the way you stand tall through your spine is you're going to stand tall through the back of the head and kind of up. Not like when you were a kid and you tried to stand taller than people and you put your nose up in the air. We want to keep your head up in the air and pull tall through your spine. Most of these stretches, you're going to want to stay tall through your spine. This particular pose, to get started, you're going to just hold this pose for about 3 to 5 deep breaths in and out, and then you're done. Next thing you're going to do is go through your range of motion. Now this isn't the time to really push it because you're just warming up for your stretching and exercises. So what you're going to do in your range of motion is you have several different motions that you can do. Firstly, you can just go down into a flex position. Then you can go up toward the ceiling and look up in an extension position. I do want to warn you, you're going to hear me say this over and over again, be careful to bring your head back. When you extend your head back, sometimes it causes a lot of pain and sometimes it causes dizziness. So if that happens to you, then really refrain from putting your head back. So you can go flex forward, flex back, or head back. You could also go ear to the shoulder on your right side, ear to the shoulder on your left side. Then you can turn right, turn left, and if you want to, you can even go through like a circular range of motion with your neck just to loosen your neck up. You're going to want to do this 2 or 3 times just to loosen up your neck. But like I said, if any of those particular motions are causing you pain and discomfort, don't really push it at this point because we're just loosening up before we do the rest of the stretches and exercises. This last one is going to be one of our advanced stretches. So if you're warming up and you're not really ready to do this, you're not going to want to do this, but I do want you to start working toward it. And what this is called is a pass-through. And what a pass-through is you're going to use either a stick, you're going to use a towel, or something that you can hold your arms apart, and then you're going to actually stretch your shoulders. Also, if you've hurt your shoulders in the past, maybe you've had shoulder surgery or something like that, this is probably going to be something that you're just never going to want to do. But for those of you who don't have shoulder problems, you're going to want to work up to this. Now, Kit's going to actually demonstrate how to do this, and what you're going to want to do though is make sure that if your hands are tight, they're harder to do. If it's difficult, you're going to want to spread those hands out when you do the pass-throughs. The wider you go, the easier these are going to be for you. Now what we're going to demonstrate is what's called a chin glide. This is actually one of my favorite exercises for correcting forward head carriage. What you're going to do with a chin glide is you're just going to stand in your normal position, similar to what you do with your mountain pose, with your feet spread apart and just standing nice and tall. What you're going to do with your chin is you're actually just going to take your chin and you're just going to glide it straight back. So you're just going to go from the starting position to a back position like this. Now, you get a little bit of a double chin. A lot of people don't like this, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable behind your neck. So just be careful when you do this. But you're going to go chin back, and you want to stand nice and tall when you do this. So you can either go straight back, or you can go straight back and kind of have that pull through the spine and nice and tall through your spine. If you're having trouble with this motion, and some people do, because we don't want you dropping your head back into extension, we want you to just glide your chin straight back. The way you can do that is actually take the chin and go forward and then go back. And you'll kind of get used to that gliding feel. A variation of this, and you can start off by just going straight forward and straight back. The variation of this and the more advanced version of this is to actually add a little bit of a lateral flexion and then go back as well. So Ken, I'm going to have you turn, and we're going to show what you would actually do is actually take the head, go ear to shoulder, and then take the chin and go back. And you can go straight up, you can go the other side and have the chin and go back. So that's a variation of doing this. You have to listen to your body and see what it's ready to do. You can go straight back from the neutral position. You can laterally flex and go back. You can laterally flex to the other side and go back. That's the variations of doing this. When you laterally flex and go back, don't rotate your head and drop it back. That's going to be dangerous, and it's probably going to cause some problems with your neck. You want to keep your head in a neutral position, looking straight ahead. Go straight over to the side and then go back. You don't want to be any twisting or rotating of your neck, but that's how you do the chin glide. The next exercise is just flexion and distraction of the neck. A lot of times when you have forward head carriage, the muscles in the back are too long and too loose. The muscles in the front are too tight. So we're going to want to stretch the ones in the front, and we're going to strengthen the ones in the back. Now the first thing that you can do is just simply taking the neck and going into an extension position and hold this position. You should feel a stretch in the front of your neck. Like we talked about before, some people can't drop their head back because of pain or because of lightheadedness or dizziness. So if you can't do that and you still want to stretch these muscles in the front, what you're going to want to do is focus on kind of taking your chin and pointing kind of up and out with your chin. And you should still feel that stretch in the front of your neck, but you shouldn't have to drop the head back into a position that causes you pain or is dangerous at all. Now that is the extension portion. The flexion portion is when you're going to take the chin and just tuck it down to your chest. You should feel that stretch down through the back of your neck. The part of it where you're going to strengthen those muscles in the back of the neck is by taking your hand, holding up against the back of your head, and what you're going to do is offer some resistance. So you're going to hold your head into this flexed position, and then you're going to take your head, and with about 30-40% of your strength, you're going to try to pull back against your hand. So you should be trying to lift your head up against your hand, and you should feel that tighten and stretch in these muscles even more. That's going to stretch the muscles and strengthen the muscles at the same time. Go ahead and pick your head up. When you finish this stretch, you don't want to leave your head down in a flexed position as being the last stretch that you do. So you might want to do an extension just to finish it off. Or if you can't do the extension, do the chin glide that we talked about before where you bring in the head back. You don't want the last thing you do to be pulling your head forward, because we don't want to be teaching your body to go head forward. So don't have that be the last thing that you do. Do an extension or a chin glide to finish it off. The next exercise we're going to talk about is designed to strengthen the muscles in the back of the neck. And so what you're going to do is you can either lay down on the floor and do this, but we really want you to lay like on the edge of the bed so that you can actually dip your head forward. So what you're going to do is lay on the edge of the bed, put your shoulders off of the bed, and you're going to actually drop your head down into a tuck position so you're kind of chin to chest. Then you're going to use the weight of your head to raise your head up into a neutral position, and you can either hold that position or you can go down and up and do repetitions where you're strengthening these muscles in the back of the neck and down into the shoulders. Now, this is the basic version of this move. If you want to be more advanced, you can actually take your head and really pull it back into a full extension position and either hold it or do repetitions in that position as well. Just be cautious, like we talked about before. Pulling your head back into full extension is going to be something that's going to cause discomfort, and it's going to be something that some of you are not going to be able to do. But what you can do is start in a neutral position and go down, and then come up back to a neutral position, and you're going to strengthen those muscles in the back of your neck and help improve that forward head carriage. Now this exercise is what's called your recovery posture. It's a great starter exercise for stretching your chest and kind of squeezing the shoulder blades back together because we want to improve that rolled forward shoulders, which involves the chest being tight and the muscles in the back being too loose. What you're going to do is basically start with the same pose as you would with mountain pose, standing nice and tall, chest up, arms down to your side, and then you're going to take those arms and you're going to push those back toward the back wall and squeeze those shoulder blades together and hold that position. Now, if you want to add an extra element to this, you could also add the chin glide to this as well, where you're taking the chin and you're pushing it back to include the neck as well. Hold that position, and you're going to hold that for a few seconds, and then you're just going to relax and release. This is also a great stretch that you could do just periodically throughout your day, and it'll help stretch the chest, and it helps tighten up in the back, and it's going to help that rolled forward position. This next stretch we're going to do is also a chest stretch, and it's similar to the one that we did first, like the recovery posture, but this one's going to be a little bit more advanced. You're going to stand in your nice neutral stance and position, nice and tall, but instead of bringing your arms to the side, you're going to bring your fingers around to the back and you're going to interlock your fingers together. Now the key to this is once you've interlocked your fingers together, you're going to bring your elbows together and squeeze your shoulders together, and you should feel this stretch across your chest, and you should feel this pinching between your shoulder blades. Not a painful pinch, but just those shoulder blades coming together. This is going to be a nice stretch. It's a little more advanced than the stretch we did before with your recovery posture. If you want to add another element to this, you're going to take those arms and you're going to raise those up away from your body. This is going to be something a lot of you can't do to start, and some of you may not even be able to get your hands together, so you might actually want to use a towel to go between your hands if you can't get them close enough together to interlock them. But interlock the fingers, bring the elbows and shoulders together, and then another element to it is raise those arms up, and you're going to feel that stretch through your chest, and you're going to feel that pulling together between your shoulder blades. One of the stretches we're going to demonstrate now is called a doorway stretch. You're going to stretch your chest, and then oftentimes the chest muscles are what are very tight, and so what you're going to do is just find yourself a doorway in your home. You're going to take your arms and spread them across the doorway. You're going to stand with your feet staggered one in front of the other, and then you're going to lean into the doorway, and you're going to feel that stretch across your chest. The one thing you want to make sure that you're doing is you want to make ssure that you are standing nice and tall and that you're keeping your head upright and that you're not dipping your head forward when you do this. You're going to hold this about 3 to 5 seconds, up to about 10 seconds, and that's going to be a great stretch across your chest, and you can do it simply in a doorway of your home. The next stretch and exercise we're going to do is dips. Now this may surprise some people, but if dips are done correctly, you're going to get a squeezing together of the shoulder blades, and you're going to get a stretching of the chest. This particular exercise is one of our more advanced exercises, so you may not be able to do this to start, but we do, like the other advanced ones, we want you to try to work up to it. Now what you're going to do with dips is you're going to be in a seated position, so you're going to need a bench or you're going to need a chair in your house. Make sure that it's a stable foundation. You don't want to be doing this on something that can tip over because you will fall over and you will hurt yourself. What you're going to do is put your hands along your side on your chair, on your bench. You're going to scoot your butt off the edge of the bench, and then you're actually going to allow your body to drop down to the floor. You want to go far enough down that you feel a squeezing in your shoulder blades and you feel a stretching in your chest. If you don't do this correctly, you can come back up. If you don't do this correctly, you're going to just feel it in your arms. The important thing to note is if you're having trouble doing this initially, the more you put your feet kind of underneath of you, the more support you will give and the less stress you'll put on your arms. But if you don't go down far enough, you're just going to feel this to be an arm workout, and you're not going to feel the stretch in your chest and in your arms. So initially when you do it, if you just feel it in your arms, you may not be ready to do this yet, but eventually we want you to be able to go into a full dip position and feel the stretch across your chest and the tightness in your back. This will not only stretch what we need to stretch, but you're also going to strengthen your body as well. So it's a really great exercise, but it is more advanced than some of the exercises that we're doing. The next exercise we're going to do is a shoulder roll. And the way you're going to do a shoulder roll is start in your neutral position like usual, nice and tall. And what you're going to do is just roll your shoulders backwards, up and backwards. You can do just continue to roll, nice slow roll, or you can actually hold that position and tighten those muscles up and hold that for 3 to 5 seconds. Either way, you're going to feel a nice stretch across your chest. You're going to feel that squeeze between your shoulder blades. That's going to get those shoulders back and improve that forward head position. When you do a shoulder roll, this is a nice, easy starter stretch. When you do a shoulder roll, though, we want you to finish it off with a cross arm stretch. And Kit's going to show us how to do that. You're going to take the one arm, bring it across, and just hold with the opposite, the non-stretch arm. And then you want to do the other side as well. Bring the arm across and just do the stretch there. And that's how you're going to finish off anytime you do the shoulder roll. The next exercise we're going to talk about is a shoulder squeeze. Now, there are 3 variations and 3 different positions that you're going to do this in, so we're going to go over all 3 positions. What you're going to start off with is you're start off with your normal stance, nice and tall. You're going to put your hands out in front of you, almost like you're diving into a pool, but you're not. And then you're going to pull your arms back towards your shoulder blades, and you're actually going to squeeze back through here, and you want to keep your arms nice and level when you do this. Now, we're going to turn sideways just so you can see this again. Arms out in front. And you're going to pull back towards your collarbone and leave your arms nice and level, squeezing through your shoulder blades. Now the variations of this, now we're going to turn this way. The variations of this is always your starting position. You're going to pull back into a Y position, squeezing through your shoulder blades and holding. Come back to neutral. And then you're also going to come up into an I position, or almost like a field goal position when you're doing this, squeezing through your shoulder blades. Slight variation of this move, but it will strengthen different muscles in your back, so you're going to want to do all 3. The most important of those is your original one where you're pulling back across the shoulder blades and leaving your arms level and squeezing through the top of your back here. Now we're going to talk about a shoulder squeeze, but we're going to add another element to it, and that is resistance bands. Now, the one thing I want to say about resistance bands is this. You don't have to use a lot of weight when you do this, but if you add a little bit of resistance, you're going to strengthen those muscles up in the back a little bit quicker than if you're just doing the regular shoulder squeeze without resistance. Now, you can do all 3 motions just like we did before without the weights, where you go straight in, you go into the Y position and then into the I position, and Kit's going to show that in just a second. Now, the key to doing this when you're using the resistance bands, you could use an anchor point like a doorway anchor. Just be careful when you do this and make sure that you have a secure anchor point. I can tell you from personal experience that they will come back and hit you, and it does in fact hurt. So when you do this, arms straight out in front, you're going to pull back towards your collarbone. This is exactly like the shoulder squeeze exercise without the resistance bands. You can either do it in the bursts where you're just going quick reps, or you can hold that position into a pull position. Now, you could also go into the Y position, and Kit's going to show us how to do that, where you pull back into the Y. This is going to be much more difficult with the resistance bands because of the leverage in your arms, so you do not need to use a lot of weight when you do this. You could also go straight up into the I position. The key is squeezing these muscles in the back here when you're holding that position. But just remember, you're going to be able to do less weight into the I position and the Y position than you're going to be able to do pulling to your collarbone. If you're just pulling straight to your collarbone, you could actually add a little bit of resistance, and that'll be okay because you'll be able to handle that. The next exercise and stretch we're going to do is basically like our shoulder squeeze, but we're going to have you do it lying down on the floor. This is going to be more difficult for some people, so just keep that in mind. But what you're going to do when you're laying down on your stomach, when you do the extension exercises laying down on your stomach, this is going to be a strengthening exercise. Now, you're going to do the 3 positions similar to what we did with the shoulder squeeze, where you're going to bring your arms to the side, arms in a Y position, and arms in an I position, but you're going to do it lying face down. Now, we're on a table and bench here, but most people are going to actually be laying on the floor. Now, the 3 positions are going to be this. You're going to start with your arms out, laying face down, your arms out to the side, thumbs up, and then you're actually going to raise the arms up off of the floor. You should be about 3 to 5 inches off of the floor, and you're just going to hold that position. It's going to strengthen these muscles back between the shoulder blades. Now come back to neutral. The other thing you're going to do is the Y position. So that's the second position where you start off in just a Y position over your head. And then same thing, you're going to put thumbs up and raise those hands 3 to 5 inches off of the table and off of the floor, and then you're going to squeeze together through your shoulder blades. Now lastly, the I position where both hands are over the head. Same thing, thumbs up, and you're going to raise those arms off of the table. You're only going to be able to do 3 to 5 inches off of the table or off of the floor. You're not going to be able to get way up off of the floor. You can either do little quick bursts with this, or you can hold that position for 3 to 5 seconds. Either way, you're going to strengthen these muscles in the back here, and it's going to help pull your shoulders back, help you stand more upright. The next stretch we're going to talk about is a lat stretch, where we're going to stretch the muscles along the side of the back. Now the way that you do that is you're going to start on your knees, you're going to sit back onto your feet and ankles, and you're going to just bend at the waist and reach out as far as you can in front of you. Now in yoga they call this a child's pose, but what we want you to do is make sure that you're really pushing back with your lower back and your butt down toward the floor, and that you're reaching out as far as you can in front of you. And when you feel like you've reached far enough, try to go a little bit further. Now, this is the neutral position where you're going just straight ahead. There's 2 things you can do to add an element to it where you can stretch either the right or left side, and that's by actually going off to the side and stretching with a little bit of a lateral flexion with this as well. What you're going to do is actually lean to one side, reach out as far as you can as you're leaning, and that's going to stretch the side that you're leaning away from. You could do this to the left side like Kit's doing here. You could do it to the right side as well, or you could go straight ahead into a neutral position, and that's where you're going to stretch these lat muscles right down the sides of your back. Now we're going to demonstrate another way of doing a lat stretch. Now your lat muscles, again, are the muscles along the side of your back, and the way that you're going to stretch them in this case is you're going to do it standing up. So what you're going to do is take the arm you want to stretch and you're going to raise it up above your head, and you're going to take the opposite arm, grab the elbow, and then pull the elbow across your back. Now Kit is more flexible than most people are, so a lot of people you have to be cautious not to bring your head too far forward when you do this. The goal is to be able to do this stretch without lurching your head forward. You should feel the stretch along your side. If you want to add an extra element to this, you can actually lean slightly to the side while you do this. Just be careful not to hurt your back when you do it, but you can lean slightly and that'll add a little bit extra stretch to that lat stretch. Now we're going to talk about just doing a passive range of motion stretch. This is going to be very similar to what we did to warm up, but with this we're going to go a little bit harder and we're going to hold those stretches a little bit longer. So it's not going to be just a general slow stretch like we did to get started. We're going to really try to get in there and hold those stretches for a little bit longer. So the way that you're going to do this is simply to take the head either to right rotation and hold for 3 to 5 seconds as far as you can. Go the other way. Hold 3 to 5 seconds as long as you can. Ear to shoulder, 3 to 5 seconds. Ear to shoulder, 3 to 5 seconds. What you specifically do is really going to be determined based on your imbalances during your self-evaluation. But what you're going to do when you start doing these passive stretches is you want to actually start holding those stretches for at least 3 to 5 seconds and going as far as you possibly can. Now we're going to talk about range of motion and adding resistance. We're talking about your passive range of motion where you're just leaning side to side and holding that position. What you're going to do in this particular case is once you go to the side, like for instance in lateral flexion, you go as far as you can, hold that position, and then you're going to use your hand to hold your head in that position while you tighten the muscles and try to pull the head back into the opposite direction. You're only going to use about 20 to 40% of your muscle strength. You don't want to pull so much that you hurt yourself. Now this demonstrates right lateral flexion. You can lean and go ear to shoulder the opposite way, hold your head in that position, and then try to pull your head back the opposite direction. That's going to be your left lateral flexion. If you do rotation, you turn the head as far as you can, hold that position, and then use your hand to hold your chin, hold your face, and you turn back into your hand while you're holding yourself still. The rules apply for both sides. Like I said, 20 to 40% strain is all you're going to want to do, and that's going to add a little bit of an extra element, a little more advanced element to the passive range of motion. This particular exercise can be done either in a seating position or lying down on a bed like we've seen before where the head is flexed forward. What you're going to do is you're going to be able to actually loosen up the lower part of the neck, but this one is going to be a little bit tricky. It's not difficult to do, but it's a little bit tricky to get used to. So you're going to start in a seated position, you're going to keep your knees spread apart, and then you're going to take your elbows and you're just going to lean over onto your knees. You're going to take your head and flex it all the way forward. Now you're not going to push your chin to your chest as hard as you can. The key to this exercise is that you just let your head droop. Whether you're in a seated position or dangling kind of off the end of the bed, you let your head relax so that this is nice and loose through here. So the weight of the head should be kind of pulling and tractioning the neck a little bit. Once you're in this position, then you can start rotating your head from side to side. This isn't really a hold, so you're not holding this for any long periods of time, but with your head in a droop position and with your neck loose, turning side to side will help loosen up some of that tightness in the lower part of your neck, and it really feels good. But the key to this is leaning over your head far enough that you really feel that loosen up before you turn side to side. It's a little bit tricky at first, but you can definitely get used to it, and if you're clenching a little bit, you're not going to feel that open up in the lower part of your neck, and that's going to be your cue that you're not doing that quite right. The next thing I want to show you is using a towel to help traction your neck. This is going to help stretch the back muscles of the neck, help open up some of those joints in the spine and the back of the neck. Now, when I say use a towel, you have a couple options. We're going to use a small towel, and Kit's going to show you how to use that. And that, a lot of times, are better than some of these big, bulky towels. Because sometimes what people will do is they'll take these big, big towels, they'll put them behind their neck, and then they don't feel like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and that's because the towel is just too big. If all you have is a big towel, what I want you to do is just take the edge of the towel and put that behind your neck and use the edge of the towel instead of actually rolling this up and using the whole thing. Now, Kit's going to show us how to use this smaller towel, but what we're going to do is you're going to take the towel, put it behind your neck, and you really want to cup the occiput, the very back of the head. What you're going to do is you're going to pull up, and you're going to pull at about a 45-degree angle, and you're going to pull up the back of the head, and you should feel that open up the space in the spine at the very top of your neck. Now, the more advanced version of this stretch is to actually go into a full flex position, head forward, and then pull the back of that occiput as well. You will feel much more of a stretch doing this, but when you get done, I want to make sure that you pull the head back up into position and kind of go back almost into a chin glide position, because like we said before with the bending forward and flexing, you don't want to tuck your head down and have that be the last exercise that you do. So you could do it either standing, and I'm perfectly fine doing it that way, or you can bend your head forward and pull it down, and you'll feel that stretch and you'll feel that traction just a little bit more, and that's a little bit more advanced. Now we're going to show you how to use a towel to help get the curve back in your neck. Sometimes when you improve the forward head carriage and you get the head back over your shoulders, that curve will naturally come back on its own. But sometimes you have to start doing some stretching and exercises to help that curve along. One of the simple things you can do is use a towel around your house. Same thing applies as the other thing we talked about, the other traction with a towel. If you get too big of a towel, it's going to be too bulky. So we're going to use a small towel. You're going to take that towel, put it just directly behind your neck. The traction we talked about the first time, you cup the occiput or the back of the head. What we're doing this time, because we're trying to get a bent curve in our neck, you're going to put the towel just right in the middle of your neck, and you're going to pull that forward, maybe slightly down. As you're pulling the towel forward, you're going to take the head and kind of pull back against the towel, almost like a chin glide. You want to be cautious here again about dropping your head back, because that could cause pain. That could also cause you to get lightheaded or dizzy. So you're going to take the towel, pull forward, resist back into the towel, hold that for 3 to 5 seconds, and do that a couple repetitions. Another great way to help restore the curve in your neck is to use the weight of your head over the top of a fulcrum, and you could use something like a towel, you could use a can, or even like a dough roller at your house. Anything that's round that you can put behind your neck will actually work. What you're going to do, and we have a towel here that Kid is laying on, and you're going to take a towel, roll it up nice and tight, you're going to put it on the edge of your bed, and then you're going to lay over the top of that towel. You should feel the towel pushing up against the neck, and you should feel the head dropping over the end. You should not feel your head sitting on the bed or the couch or anything else. Now, with that said, if you get lightheaded or dizzy doing this, you're probably going to have to move into a position where your head is supported a little bit so that you're not causing that to happen. This is not something that you have to do for just 3 to 5 seconds. This is the only one that we're doing that you can actually lie in this position for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. You don't want to sleep in this position because you will get up and you will be very, very sore. But 5 to 15 minutes, you can actually lie in this position. If you're just starting out, you want to start at more of 3 to 5 minutes to see how you feel. And then you can work up all the way to 15 minutes. No matter how good it feels, you do not want to do this any longer than 15 minutes because you're likely to make yourself very, very sore.